Okay, welcome back to Just an Introvert podcast. This is episode 6, and my name is Amy.
And I'm Abbie.
And thank you for tuning in again. I get so excited when people tell me that they listen. I'm like, thank you for listening.
That is the best. And when it's someone like unexpected, or one of my mom's friends, we were at a wedding and she mentioned that she listened, and it like totally caught me off guard. I was like, oh my gosh, you listen. I was just so excited. So it's really fun.
It's super
knowing
fun
that people are enjoying it and listening. It's really cool to get that feedback.
Yes. And I'm going to fangirl again. My husband was giving me a hard time, but I looked on Apple Podcasts and we got another review. I was so excited.
Yes.
So I sent it to Abbie and I'm like, look.
It's the little things. And now I'm like much more intentional when I listen to podcasts. I'm like, yes, I will give you 5 stars. I will, even though you have like 20,000 and you're a famous podcaster, I'm still going to do my part to make you feel good.
Absolutely. I am with you on that.
Yes.
So today I think we're going to be talking about friendships.
Yes, we are.
And all the good stuff on that, but we have to start with our icebreaker. So what have you got for us, Abbie?
All right. So our icebreaker is, if you could only have one meal for the rest of your life, what meal would you pick and why?
Oh my goodness. One meal the rest of your life. Oh, there's so many I like, but I feel like if there was one that's like real greasy that I like, if I ate it all the time, I would feel like, ugh. So probably if I had to eat one for the rest of my life, I love Hawaiian barbecue. The chicken, the rice, and the macaroni salad. I love it so much. And I think I could do that every day
for forever.
and not get sick of it. I really, really enjoy it that much.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'm like totally have like a hyper fixation meal right now. I was telling Randall the other day, I'm like, if I'm sad, this is what I eat. If I'm happy, this is what I eat. Like, it's my go-to right now. And I think this is what I'd stick with. So I'm really into the Trader Joe's it's like a frozen Indian food. So I know it's probably not super traditional, but it's the butter chicken and rice, and they have a garlic naan, and I do that with like a Diet Coke, and that is my like it always just is perfect. It's just my go-to meal right now. I always keep like 4 or 5 of them in my freezer, and it's just a go-to.
Love it.
Yeah. So I think that would probably be my pick.
That's good.
No vegetables or fruit in sight, so I don't know how long that would last me for the rest of my life. But
yeah,
hey.
mine doesn't either. But get some protein.
Hey, we'd be happy. We would be happy.
We would be happy. That's funny.
Oh my
Who would pick a vegetable and fruit? I mean, yeah, you
someone
need them,
there.
but is that really going to be what you pick? Yeah, good for them.
Must be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God.
Well, that's a good one. I love food. I love talking about food.
So I was gonna say we're both food girlies, so that
food motivated, and that's our love language for sure.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for the would you rather?
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
It's always like even though it's not real, it's like the secondhand embarrassment, like mental cringe, where I'm just like, oh, okay, so I gotta. You're up. Go for it.
Okay, so at work, like you going into the room with the patient. So, would you rather dab after asking a question, every question you ask, dab, or after the patient answers a question, say in your dreams?
Oh boy. Oh man. Yikes. Oh, this one has me stumped. I'm like picturing, because I have such a wide range of patients that I talk to. So I'm like, oh, none of this. I think I'd have to go with dabbing.
Dabbing.
I feel like that is somehow less terrible. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's where I'd land, because I feel like with some, I could just kind of like sneak it. Like I picture that episode of The Office where Jim makes Dwight do jazz hands or something.
Oh, yes.
And so he like kind of subtly does it. I feel like that I could just like do it in the background and hide it.
We're on the same page. I was thinking the same thing. You could kind of do it kind of just subtly, because I was talking to my family about it, about what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
And they were like, if you said in your dreams, Niles or Riley or someone was like, yeah, when you say what's your height and weight and they answer and you go in your dreams.
Yeah, that was my other thought. I'm like, given the conversations I have with some of my patients, that could end very poorly.
That would
I
be
would get fired.
really, that would be awful. Yeah, I think dabbing's probably the better way to go.
Less of two evils.
Exactly.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're talking about friendships and just what it's like to have friendships, develop them as an introvert and all that good stuff. So let's start with, what were your childhood friendships like? Like, give us a little picture of what that was like for you.
Um, I know we mentioned this in the school episode, but I definitely grew up in like small school, same group of people. So I feel like um I definitely had like best friends for certain periods of my life, but overall I do feel like I bounced around, just like more what you're currently doing. Like, okay, if I'm in a sport, then I'm hanging out with the people on that team, or if I'm doing the musical, I kind of end up in those different groups. But when I think of like childhood friendship, my childhood best friend, Kayla, very, very much like the introvert, extrovert, the two extremes. I think about when we met. This is just a great story. Hope you don't mind that I'm telling this, Kayla. I don't even know if you listen, but um, we met through a mutual friend. She was new to our school, I think. Kayla knew her from like church or family stuff, something outside. And um, we both tell it very different ways. Like I remember I'm like hanging out with my friend, and then this girl walks up and is like, no, she's my friend. You can't be friends with her, and like pulled her away. And I was like, okay. And then on the other side, her perception was she's just like hanging out with her friend. And then she's like, this girl in curly hair pigtails comes hopping up with her jump rope and is like, hey, do you want to hang out with us? And like stole her away. So it's really funny that we had very opposite views of that. But I think that was really like the essence of our friendship, was that like opposites attract. We were very different.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I think that was a lot of my friendships, was people who were like outgoing. And before I even understood like introvert, extrovert, just having the like kind of like, okay, yep, it's easy. I don't have to like do much. They're going to do the talking and the interacting, and I can just kind of like slip in here. And um, so yeah, I think that was a big part of that. And I think I always had like my friends from school and my friends from church. I went to a small church, um, separate from the school that I went to. There was a church associated with my school. We just didn't go when I was younger. So I kind of had like, I feel like I had my church friends and my school friends. And I remember like at a couple birthday parties, it was always so weird when your two friend groups like intermingle. And
Mm-hmm.
I would like not prep, but I'm like, okay, this is so and so, and this, like I have to almost think about, okay, who's going to be compatible with who, and is everyone going to be comfortable and happy? And I remember even at a young age that was like a concern for me. So I do remember
It's
having,
stressful. It's
yeah,
stressful to have
yeah, the
those two worlds
different,
meet because
yes.
you,
And
yeah.
I think I feel like this is an introvert thing. I feel like I can very much be like a social chameleon and just kind of blend in the group that I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always like, oh my gosh, are these people going to be like, you're not like, like I'm two totally different people with these two groups of friends, and, have to put on both or whatever. So
You have different
like,
roles in each.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That
I'm
make
like, are they going to be like,
totally makes
that's not what
sense.
you're usually like? Yeah. So, um, yeah, I think, like I said, that was kind of like my main friendship throughout, elementary school and like childhood. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
again, I think for the most part, it was just, like the casual friendships I had were just out of convenience, because it's like
Mm-hmm.
we go to school together, we see each
Yep.
other, we just kind of end up, our parents know each other, we hang out at our house. It just was kind of one of those natural things. There wasn't a lot of intention, and I know I'll talk about that later in the episode, but friendships just kind of like happened, and there
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a lot of effort or intentionality, but you just kind of ended up being friends with kind of whoever you were around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you?
That's really kind of what I said in my notes.
Yeah.
Growing up, I basically had the friends at school. Those are my friends because I was at school 5 days a week, and that's who I hung around with the most. My first childhood best friend, Kimberly, I've talked about her before. Very outgoing, extroverted. I think we were a good pair because I just was happy to follow, you know, whoever, but our moms were good friends and we went to school together. And of course, I had a other, small group of friends. But I would say mostly they were school friends. I went to church, but I wasn't, it was once a week. And then I didn't always want to go to Sunday school because I was kind of shy and
Oh,
introverted and would rather just sit in the big service with my parents. So I really didn't get to know people very well at church. So I mainly just had my school friends. Now I did meet the twins I was talking about. I don't know if the last episode that I did meet them at church. We never really developed a friendship, but it's kind of funny that in college we reconnected and now
mm,
we are very close. So
mm,
it's funny how that works. But I would say
yeah,
childhood was just very just who I was, like you said, of convenience.
yeah,
We hung around, we were involved in sports, just anything that revolved around the school is just kind of what that was. So
yeah,
and I preferred small friend groups. Just had kind of a small group of friends, but yeah, so kind of the same thing.
yeah.
Um, let's see here. I had the outline pulled up. There we go. Okay, so how is making friends different as you get older?
Well, it's not easy. I feel like it gets more difficult. And I think
Mhm.
that's just people in general. I know, like I said, you're in school, you're around people, you're kind of like forced into interactions with, sports group projects, extracurriculars, whatever. So you just kind of end up being around people and you have people that you're more, tend to gravitate towards. But I feel like as I've gotten older, there's just been less opportunities that you're around people, and then being introverted on top of that, you're not seeking out and putting yourself in situations where you're going to mingle and mix and like meet new people. Like that's absolutely terrifying. So I just feel like, and like I said, I feel like I just became friends with the people that I was around and didn't learn how to like, okay, this is how you go out and make a friend. It just feels like that skill or that purposeful finding a friend was not something I ever learned until you're kind of out of, for me, it was like when I was out of college and I got married right out of college. So it was like I had, my husband was my best friend before we started dating. And so it just was like, okay, like, yep, I've got this. And then you're like, oh, wait, I'm not constantly surrounded by people. And it's kind of this weird transition. And I think also as I've grown older, I have changed quite a bit from and not necessarily changed as much as become more confident in who I am. Like I said, social chameleon was my life. I really noticed that in college. I was really excited to be in a new environment and meet new people and just kind of like the chance to reinvent yourself. And I just remember the first like 6 months of college, I was so frustrated because I'm like, I cannot, like, my roommates were people that I went to high school with. So I knew my roommates. So that was kind of an easy, safe zone to come back to. But I would be like out and about and I just would find myself instinctively like, okay, agreeing with everyone or just going along. And then I'm like, this is exhausting and this is stupid. Like, I just remember, I don't want to do this anymore. And I just was like, I'm gonna be myself. There's a lot of people here. I gotta find someone out there who likes me. And that was right around the time, I guess it was only a few months. That was right around the time that I ended up meeting my husband,
Mhm.
meeting through a friend group and stuff. And that friend group that I was in just connected so well. And I felt like I could be my authentic self. And that was so
Mhm.
nice to feel just like my guard wasn't up. I was just who I was. And that was really, really refreshing and really nice. So I think that changes as well. Being used to being a certain way and being around certain people. And then as that broadens and widens out, as you go to college and have a job and start, like branching out into the world, um, yeah, it evolves and it definitely gets more difficult. But I think quality over quantity changes as well. But
Mhm.
yeah, how about for you?
100%. Yeah. So, when you're young and you're in school and you're together all the time, you just have those opportunities right in front of you. And then as you, like you said, you get older and then you have to be the one that does the seeking, like, oh, wait, I'm not just with this particular group anymore. And then I also got married while I was in college. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, and I did have in place a friend group at church. So I relied on that a lot. But as I have gotten older, I work friends, people I'm around the most is kind of who I become friends with. I wouldn't say I like hang out with them on weekends and all the time, but that's just kind of who I connect with, who I'm around with the most. And then probably what I look for now, getting older, if I'm looking to make um, friends, is I kind of look for someone who's in the same season as me.
Mm.
I'm not saying I only have friends that are my age, but that friend's going to have a similar schedule. They're going to have similar life experiences, and it's just going to be a little easier to just kind of relate on that kind of stuff. So, yeah, but definitely when you get older, it's harder. And then, like you, I feel like I'm getting more confident as I'm getting older and a little more okay with, maybe not having as many friends around as maybe I felt when I was younger, like,
Mm.
oh, I've got to look at these people have a big friend group and they
Yeah.
do this and I got to have this, and I don't feel that urgency
Yeah.
so much anymore. But yeah, it does get a little more challenging
Yeah.
as you get
Absolutely.
older. But
Something you said kind of made me think, my husband and I talked about this a lot when we were probably newly married because we got married young,
mhm,
which coming from like the church environment, that's normal and kind of expected. But
yeah,
everywhere else, it's like, oh, like I had a lot of people who were like, oh wow, you got married really young. Like what? And um so I feel like we got married young, we had kids young, we had our careers like right out of college, like a very rare situation to have all that kind of line up. We always said we felt like our age and our stage of life did not match. Like
mhm,
people that were our age were still like going out and partying and having fun and they're like young and living their lives. People in our stage of life were like 5, 10 years older than us. So it didn't match up. So it was like the people we would naturally meet at some things, it just, again, it wouldn't line up. So that was always challenging to find friends that, not that you can't be friends with someone that's not in the same age as you or stage of
right.
life, but it's just harder, like you said, with,
Oh yeah,
especially with kids. If you don't, and again, not that you can't be friends with people that don't have
sure,
kids, but just the
right.
understanding of, like nap schedules and like I'm exhausted and I don't want, like I'm not going to go out late at night. And
Mhm.
um, yeah, I think that was definitely another part of it that just kind of made that a challenge. Um, yeah, just kind of starting life and all those things really young.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that too because I was married going to college and not many people were married.
Yeah.
And another thing is both Niles and I stayed in town. We didn't go off to college. And so I don't have a lot of those like going away to college experiences. Now that didn't bother me too much. I was okay with staying local. I know Niles, a little part of him, I think, wished he went away. So when he got his master's, he went to USF in San Francisco and commuted in the evening right after we had Riley. And I know a lot of people are like, how did you do it? But like it was his going away experience
Yeah.
and he enjoyed it. He loved, that drive time and stuff. So, but yeah, it definitely I didn't have a lot in common in that sense with people when we first got married. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I know what you mean, how like people are like either 5 years ahead of you or you're kind of just in this weird
In between
in
gap. Yeah.
between space. But yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you look for in a friend?
I I love this question. I love talking about this.
Uh-huh.
But it also like bums me out because I have a hard time making friends. I have casual friends, but I don't feel like I have what I look for. I love having like a best friend, a
Mhm,
person. If you watch
mhm,
Grey's Anatomy, that's what, like, just someone being your person, your go-to. And I feel like loyalty plays into that a lot. And I don't know how to describe it without it sounding like high maintenance, but again, just the best friend idea, the like, you're my top person, I'm your top person, like just having that connection. Cause I think my insecurities tend to make me jealous. So it's like, oh, you're talking to them more. Oh, you hung out with them and you didn't, like, all of that plays in. And then, so if I just know, like, if I know what's going on and like texting throughout the day and we just are on the same page and we know what's going on, the little things in our life, like that's what I crave. And it's been a
mhm.
while since I've had that, but again, just kind of in that like loyalty and what was the other word? I had another word that I thought of. This is what happens when I go off of my outline and I don't just read what I wrote. I'm like, oh, there's something. But yeah, I think that's more the type of friendship that I strive for and long for because I do enjoy like a group of friends, but it is important for me to feel kind of like seen and individualized.
Hmm.
And again, like my husband and we truly were each other's best friend for like a year and a half before we dated. So
Hmm.
having that and then like that transitioning into like, okay, we're married and we have kids and like he still fulfills that. Absolutely.
Hmm.
But it's so different than to realize like, and I feel like it's been the last few years that we've realized that I'm like, in no negative way towards him. I'm like, I feel like I need more than that. I need,
Sure.
someone outside of that. And so,
Yeah.
um, yeah. And, I think as a mom too, having someone who, even if you don't have kids, like understands the kid stuff and because
Hmm.
that can feel really sucky when you're like, okay, I'm trying to accommodate and I want to make this work, but do I like exhaust myself and regret it for days? Or do I just say like, hey, I can't do this because blah, blah, blah. And I think that's another thing is just the communication and the ability to
Hmm.
just tell that person like, hey, this is where I'm at instead of the things that are unsaid. And then it gets weird and tension. And then that shuts you down and just snowballs into
Yes.
oblivion. But yeah, I don't know. That was a very rambly roundabout answer, but
No,
what are
that
your thoughts?
definitely, I could follow all that and relate to some
You
of
get
it for
me.
sure. Totally, yes. Let's see, what do I look from Fred? Sarcasm. I'm just kidding. But it does, I do really tend to connect to people who kind of have that sarcastic wit and kind of the same humor as me. I really connect to those people.
Yep.
I like someone who isn't clingy or needy, like that respects my boundaries. Like we can be close, but I don't feel the pressure to I don't know. We give as much as we feel we can
Yeah.
and not be pressured on that. Someone who shares my interests, and then I have someone who's in the same season as me, but again, not all my friends are the same exact age as me. I have a lot of younger friends, I have a lot of older friends, so that's not necessarily a requirement, but it does help to be able to relate on things. And I think someone who just makes me feel comfortable to be around, someone who's just, it's not like a stressful thing to get together. It just is a real ease type of thing. Yeah, and I'm with you as far as like my husband. We're definitely, best friends and we can do stuff together. Now that the kids are, that's the empty nest thing is going to be a reality very soon. I look at him and go, hey, there's a lot of things that we can do together that I'm excited about. But at the same time, we definitely want our own things,
Yeah.
and that's healthy too. So, and I totally respect that. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I look for in a friend
Your
roundabout
list was
way.
so much better than mine, but I feel like
Oh,
I agree with everything that you said too. I'm like, oh yeah, that and that and that.
oh yeah,
And I
no,
think
it's
this sarcasm and that humor, I think that can be such an under like recognized thing when it comes to compatibility. Like, are you
mhm.
going to be offended by by my humor or how I or
Yes,
are you gonna just like roll with the punches or not even
totally.
you don't even have to be on the same page, just like be able to communicate. And I think having that like safe, secure for someone who does not like any sort of like confrontation, just to like have that like casual, like, hey, this bothers me, or hey, what like to be able to
Mhm.
communicate that and not feel like, okay, I'm avoiding you because I don't want to talk about this or whatever. Just having
Right.
that openness and I feel
Oh,
like that's just like
definitely.
safety in a friendship is
Yes.
huge for me too.
That's yeah, and definitely for introverts to feel
Yeah.
that that ease and safe
Yeah.
space is good
Yeah.
is big. Okay, so let's move on to friendships with introverts versus extroverts. So what would you say the the differences and
Yeah.
maybe some of the positives and the negatives
Mhm.
and things like that?
Yeah, I like I said, I feel like the close friendships in my life have been with extroverts, just kind of
Hmm.
out of someone who can, help me bring me out of my shell, even though I hate that term. The like kind of gently and kindly, respectfully pushing you to your limit a little bit and having those times where it's like encouraging you to do this, or the spontaneity, or the like coming up with ideas or plans, and all of that is really nice because that takes some of the effort off of you, and you're like, cool, like I know that you're going to initiate. I don't feel like I'm like, okay, I haven't talked to you, are we good? Like you're just always being the one to start that.
Yes.
But I do think with introverts, that level of like depth and connection, I think depth is a huge thing for me. Relationships, friendships, anything. I don't want to sit in small talk and shoot the breeze, and like one of my friendships in college that we got really close really fast. Like the first time we hung out, we were both like, "Hey, we're looking for a close friendship. Cool." And we just like got deep so fast, and it was so much more comfortable than the fluff and the like getting to know you. I'm like, I will sit and just tell you all of my deepest darkest secrets, and that's so much more comfortable to me. So just that level of depth I think is
Yes.
really really helpful, and to have that. And then on the other side of it, to have, just the silence. Not, it doesn't have to be awkward, it's okay. Like maybe we just want to hang out and sit on our phones for a little bit and take a
Hmm.
break, and that's okay. Having someone to bail you out at a party is huge too, when they just know. It's awful when you go somewhere with someone and you're like their ride, or you're just stuck and they're partying and you're like, gosh dang, I don't want to be here anymore and
That's
I
why
don't
I
know how to.
always want to bring my own car to
Mm. And I'm like, I
everything.
don't want to drag you down and ruin your
Hmm.
experience, but I also, yeah, no, I think that those are some of the differences. But kind of what I mentioned before, I think either way, having comfortability, safety, security, like just feeling seen and feeling
Hmm.
understood is huge. Whether
Yes.
that's I see you for your differences, or like I'm on the same page as you, I think is
Yeah.
really, really important. But yeah, I think obviously, like I said, sometimes the overstimulation that extroverts can bring can be a negative, but I also think, two introverts might never go out and do or anything, or, find out you like things. And another friend I had in college, she was very so extroverted and just spontaneous and like so much fun. And I loved that. I remember the day I met her, it was our first day of nursing school, and I was sitting in the back of the class. She was sitting in the front of the class. I remember she had blue hair, and I thought that was so cool. And she mentioned she was from Santa Cruz, one of the other people that were from California, because I went to college out of state. And I was like, she's so cool. And I came home and I told Randall, I was like, there's this girl and she's so cool. And I just wish I could be her friend. And he's like, why can't you be her
Oh,
friend? I'm like, I don't know. She's cool. And I'm not, I don't know.
so
We
funny.
ended up becoming friends, and it was great. And she was the most, again, spontaneous. Like I never would have done that. I'd come home, hang out, and tell Randall, like, we did blah, blah, blah. And he's like, who are you? Like, what? You did what? So it's nice to kind of, again, it's the level of that high energy and pushing you, but also knowing your comfort level and not pushing
Hmm.
you past what you're comfortable with. But
Yes, yes.
no,
No, that's great. I
yeah,
can relate to a lot of what you're saying.
yeah.
Let's see. I have so extroverted friends to me bring more to the table in the sense that they're just I don't have to carry anything. Like they carry the conversation. They like I can enjoy the show. Like
Hmm.
they are just fun to be around. I really like hanging out with them. They initiate plans. Like traveling with them is the best. Niles is an extrovert and he makes the plans, he initiates stuff, and I love that. It was funny. There was a reel that totally described us, and it showed the husband, and he's on they're walking through the airport, and he's on the lookout. Like there's, okay, we've got to turn left here. We're gonna do this, blah blah blah. And then it shows the wife, and literally it's just nothing going on in her brain, and she's like, oh, and it said something like, I just can turn my brain off or something. Well, and he's just happy leading her, and she's happy just
Yes.
wherever you want to go.
Yep.
So that's what I appreciate about extroverts. Let's see. And then they lead the conversation. So I know that, and I'm happy to listen. Um, and so it's kind of like riding a roller coaster with them. It's a thrill ride, but I need more rest time after I'm with them.
Totally.
And with introvert friends, they make me feel calm. I can have deep discussions with them. Those are the people that I can be up all night and talking, and it just seems like no time has passed. Those are the ones I can get really deep into topics with. I don't feel the need to constantly like socialize. Like with extroverts, I feel like, you know, I don't want to just sit there and be silent. I need to get, do my part and, help keep the not I mean they keep the conversation going, but I just feel like more that I have more to do in the relationship. Um, but like traveling with introverts is kind of I've traveled with some introverts before. It's not bad, but like I feel like you need someone to make like no the introverts don't make decisions very
Yeah.
well. And so you can just sit there for like, what do you want to eat? What do you want to do? And it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of just in a dead end in that sense. But I described him like being a friend with introverts is like a breezy walk. It's comfortable. I don't need to like recharge my battery like I do when I'm around an extrovert, but there's times that I really enjoy being around the extrovert. And times I enjoy being around the introvert. So I like having both in my life, but it's definitely different dynamic for both.
Yeah.
So,
I think having a group with a mix is really nice because
mhm,
you're able to like in one situation, like, okay, I
yes.
have some energy, let's go. And then you're like, okay, I'm tapped out. Here's my, safe space that I can retreat to at the end. And having that balance, I think
Mhm.
really is because I think if you only had one or the other, it would, yeah, it wouldn't last very well. And we need each other for so many reasons. But yeah, I think a combo is almost that sweet spot where you have a little bit of both.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, it's
Mm.
good to have both.
Yeah.
But yeah, they each have their positives and I wouldn't say negatives, but just
Yeah.
challenges
Yeah.
maybe.
That,
So,
that's such a teacher thing to say, by the way. Like,
well,
it's not it's an opportunity for improvement.
yeah, we like to word things very
Yes.
and
Happy
in the meantime in
Teacher
inside our head
Appreciation
we're
Day,
just
by the
going
way.
but yes, that's definitely a teachery thing to do.
Yes. I was just gonna say I love that this is completely random, that Teacher Appreciation Day is today and that Nurse Appreciation Day or whatever was yesterday, and I always love that. Except this year, I feel like the deals have been subpar. I keep looking at things to get, and because
Yeah.
I'm like, when it's the same week, I'm like, all right, Randall, we're gonna bring our ID badges and get all the stuff. And so,
No, I agree. And then I'm at two schools and I'll get an email from the school I'm not at, and they're like, "We're having like the school I'm not at. They're getting smash burger tomorrow. They're coming," and I'm like,
yeah,
missing out on that. I mean, not that I'm not getting stuff at the school I'm at, but it's just like,
no,
man.
yeah, I feel
But
that.
and then being a music teacher, and this is so like first
Yeah,
world problem,
right.
selfish thing to say, but you just don't get gifts because you're just the specialist that comes in
Yes.
once twice a month for 45 minutes. So the kids, it's not, I never, when my kids were in school, I never thought about the harder music
Right.
teacher. So I can't be mad. But we were talking at the staff room today, and the teachers were going around going, "Oh, I got this from a student. Oh, I got this." And then there was kind of silence, and I go, "I got a rock."
I was just gonna say Charlie Brown.
And I laughed. And but
Oh,
but like I have to be careful because if you say that, like if you
yeah.
make a joke on social media that people are like, "Oh, you're just
You're not
ungrateful," blah
yeah.
blah blah. And and this is where the friendships come in when I talked about people who get your humor. When I
Yes.
post things, it's just a joke. It's just funny. I'm not trying to make a social political commentary on stuff. And the people who don't get it are not my people.
Totally agree. Yep.
So that's where that sense of humor, the
Yes.
sarcasm and
Understanding. Yeah.
those are definitely my people. So
Totally. Totally. Oh gosh. Okay, so next we had a few questions that people had asked, which is so awesome. I love when people respond.
hmm.
I try to do that like the day before we record just to give people the time to send in some questions. Um, the first one is from my little brother, Ben. Shout out, Ben.
Shout out
Um,
Ben, loyal
I
listener.
Ben
Love
is
it.
just he's killing it right now. So the rest of our
Yes.
family, you gotta step it up. If you want to shout out, you gotta do the things.
Hmm.
Yes. So his question, I really liked his question. Is it easier to become friends with extroverts or introverts without knowing what they are? I'm assuming that means without knowing if they're introverts or extroverts. So what was your thought on this, Amy?
So I feel like making friends with extroverts is easier to do in person because they don't mind the introducing themselves. They don't mind the talking. And that helps, establish that friendship. Whereas with introverts, it's almost easier to meet them initially, for me, meet them initially online and kind of just establish that kind of back and forth talk in your own safe area. You kind of lay the groundwork before, and then when you see them in person, that's already been covered, and you can kind of just ease into your friendship. So that's what I found for me. How about you?
Yeah, I really think it depends on kind of how that friendship is starting. I feel like for the most part, it's pretty easy to tell who's introverted and extroverted. Not everyone. There's a lot of people that are kind of in the middle of that spectrum, or depending on how you meet them. But I really think it depends on like what the common ground and what the initiation of the friendship is. I feel like kind of like what you were saying in person, and if you're at a social event or a party or a wedding or whatever, and someone like comes up and introduces, like that becomes a lot easier with someone who initiates, versus, a time where it's, maybe through something at work or you have something in common and you just kind of like are around each other and then that friendship develops, I guess. So I just think where it's starting from definitely would change it. But I like what you said about meeting people online because I totally feel that. Through my dad basically have become a lot more active on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a huge following in his like big group of friends. We call them his imaginary friends for a while because he was like, "Yeah, I'm talking to these people on the internet." We're like, "Really, Dad? Like, are you?" But no, they're all great. I love all the Twitter people out there. If you're
Mm-hmm.
listening, we love you. But
Yes.
yeah, I think having that safe space to be yourself, kind of like what we talked about earlier, is a lot easier when you're not in person and you're not directly with someone. It is easier to say things through a screen, which can be good and bad, but finding people who agree with you and are like, oh yeah, like I like what you had to say or think, it's really reassuring. So I think yeah, I agree with that and I like that thought. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Good question, Ben. Good
yes.
question. All right. So this next question is from Jenny. Now, is this someone that
I was
you
just gonna say,
know?
speaking of which, this is another
Oh,
person I know
Twitter.
through Twitter. Yeah, I'm like, it's
Yes.
funny when I tell stories about these people or what they post to my husband. I'm like, they're just this person from Twitter. Like, I don't really know how I know them. We ended up following each other. So,
Yes.
yes, Jenny from
Awesome.
Twitter.
Okay. So Jenny from Twitter says, uh, how was it like making friends as an adult introvert? So what would you say to that?
I mean, we touched on it a little bit, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it's hard. It's so hard. It's we kind of go into this in the next question, but making versus maintaining friendships, I feel like is two different beasts. But as far as making friends, um I feel like for myself, I'm so limited to like finding friends where I already am, like at work or at church
Mm-hmm.
or with, moms that I'm around or whatever, just kind of being in an environment, seeing people and like, okay, I think like there's someone I could connect with. Um so you see that and then that next step of how do I, like how do I approach this? How do I like, because again, talking about childhood, you'd be just like on the playground, walk up with the ball. I'm like, hey, you want to play? It's just there was no thought of anything
Right,
other than
right.
that. No, it's just like you just introduced yourself to whoever and then your friends and that's it. But yeah, as an adult, it's so much more difficult. But um, I don't know. I think that again, it really depends on what situations you're in. Because again, it's easier when you're already around people and it just kind of naturally is like a slow fade into a friendship instead of just this meet someone and like, hey, we should be friends. But
Yes.
yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to what I said about kind of laying the groundwork online. I find that's really helpful for me because I'm just taking, for example, like going into the staff room with a bunch of people, and it's maybe having something happen, like not something bad happen, but just something that I write about online and talk about, and then the next day I walk in and since I've already kind of explained what happened online, they can ease in and go, oh, hey, that was a funny story about your dog, or and then the conversation just happens instead of
Yep.
me going, hey, guess what happened? Because that
Yes.
stresses me out. I don't want to have to do that initial, you
Have you
know,
announced like, okay, I
yes,
have a story to tell. Here we go. Yeah.
yes, yeah, which some
Yeah.
people do, and I love
Yes.
sitting and listening to them, but it
Yeah.
just I found it just makes it easier to kind of pick up where, and I'll do that too. Like I'll read about someone and then I'll be, a- and see them and be like, oh, and they'll refer to what they posted
Yes.
about. And it just, for me, it just makes it easier, especially as an adult, because like you said, we just don't have those opportunities, served to us on a platter like we did when we were little.
Yeah.
You just,
Yeah.
friends here and there on the playground. And
Yep.
so for me personally, as an introvert, I really, that's a way for me to, and it's a way that I've gotten so many friends. I have a lot of friends online that I've never met in person.
Yep.
And someday it'd be really cool to meet all these people. But right now I feel like
Yeah.
I'm really close, and it's like, okay, I've never physically met them, but
Yep.
I feel like I know them.
Yep. It's all
So,
the
and
things we were
that's
told as kids not to do. We're like,
right.
strangers from the internet are our best friends.
Yes, no, exactly. It's so funny because,
Yeah.
so many people complain about social media and things, and there are some negatives. I get that, but there's been so many positive
Yeah.
things,
Especially through
and
COVID. I feel like that was so many of our lifelines just to stay sane and connected with people that we otherwise
oh
would
my
never
gosh,
have
yes.
talked to or yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was a great question. So
Yeah.
then we think we have one more, right?
Yes, we do. My sister-in-law Katie is my husband's sister.
Uh-huh.
Her question was how to maintain a friendship. And I like that, especially those two questions back to back, because again, making and maintaining are very different. And yeah, I just feel like for me, maintaining a friendship's one of the biggest barriers for me, I would say, is um not having the comfortability to be honest and real about stuff, especially when I'm like, "Hey, I'm tapped out, I'm overstimulated, I'm done, like, I've hit my wall." Being able to just say that instead of, the infamous, we make a plan and then the day comes and I'm like, "Oh, I don't wanna do this at all." Having
Mm-hmm.
someone who I can just say, because I will have a tendency to come up with an excuse like, "Oh, I'm not feeling good," or, "Oh, like, my kid's
Mm-hmm.
sick," or whatever, and, try to get out of something, but just to be able to have that openness of, "Hey, like, I'm tapped out, I really can't do it, I'm so sorry," just to have that, and I feel like maintains that level of, honesty in a friendship. Because otherwise, I'm like, I've seen friendships that have kind of fizzled, and I can see that it was my fault because there's a handful of things that I'm like, I can't do it, but instead of just being open and forthright
Yes.
about it, you're kind of dodging it, and then it's like the other person can feel that, and they're like, "Why are you being weird about this?" Um, so yeah, just being able to be yourself and being okay with differences and disagreements because those can be so like one thing is like the end of a friendship. You're like, "Oh, we don't see eye to eye about this," and like, "Oh, conflict, I'm out, I can't." But to have
Mm-hmm.
someone who's willing to like talk about those things, but then also not to focus on those things because there are things that, hey, we disagree, but it doesn't have to end our friendship or change our friendship.
Right.
We can just like, hey, maybe we just don't have to talk about this all the time, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think for me, maintaining just is really being transparent and not having to put on a facade of anything when I'm around someone because that just burns me off so fast. But yeah.
Right. Well, and I feel like, not all my friends, I mean, quite a few align probably politically and religiously, but not everybody
Hmm.
does.
Hmm.
But the ones that are successful is when we don't make that. Not that we are true to who we are, but we just don't talk about those things or focus on them or let them get in the way
Right.
of our friendship. And I think that's important. I'm going to refer back to my twin friends. I might as well name them, Gina and Janine. Shout out to you. Talk about you guys so much. But they are friends that I reconnected with in college. And now once we got jobs and stuff, I mean, we would get together, but with kids and stuff, it just didn't happen as much. And now, the way I maintain my friendship with them is we get together twice a year. And it's not much, but I make sure uh to at my winter break and summer break, we always uh get together, we can have lunch and we like go shopping, and it's not a lot, but it's enough to
Yeah.
just keep that. And it's okay that it's not a lot. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be going out every weekend, every month.
Yeah.
But even just those 2 times a year. Of course, I say that, and this last winter break dropped the ball and we didn't get together, but we did text and say we got to do it this summer. And so maintaining when you're just in a stage of life where it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
be together and get together like you used to.
Yeah.
But just even a little bit
Yeah.
is something.
I feel like those are just the best friendships where you can just pick up where you left off and it
Mhm.
doesn't feel like anything's changed. And I feel like that to me is a sign of true friendship. I feel that with my cousin. I mean, cousin, she's still a friend. My
Yeah.
cousin Maddie, her and
Yes.
I, when we were younger, we'd see each other all the time. And now it's like few
Mhm.
and far between. But I always feel like whenever we reconnect, it's just like we pick up and we're just like we always were. And I love that. And I feel like that,
Yes.
again, it's not awkward. It's not like, okay, how do we get, it's just like dive right into it. And I love that. Those are like the sweetest friendships for me.
And that's another, I'm going to say, where social media has been a blessing, because
Yep.
in the old days before that, you'd have to make some phone calls.
Yes.
And it would do that, but now you can just be online and you can text and you can message and you can just keep up with each other
Yeah.
through that. And I think
Yep.
that's just super cool.
That's
So
nice. Yeah.
definitely. Well, thanks guys for the
Cool.
questions. That was
Yeah.
very cool.
I love it.
Um, let's see. I had the outline pulled up. Look at me. There it is. Okay. Oh, we're here to the awkward moments of the week. And I find lately that I have to choose because I have so many, which one I'm going to do. But anyway,
I
what
have the
is your,
opposite. I have
oh,
the
you do?
opposite problem. I'm like, what is, but again, I think I mentioned this before. In my head, I'm like, oh, I'm so awkward. I have all these moments, but I'm like, I'm so worried about being awkward that I avoid anything that could be an awkward moment at all costs. And I miss out on so many great things because I'm just like, oh, what if this bad thing happens? And
Oh my goodness.
yeah, so I'm like, okay, what was my thing? But anyways, for this week, we went to Dutch Bros the other day, last
Uh-huh.
week or last weekend. And it was raining. It was that random Saturday that just rained out of nowhere. It was so weird.
Crazy and so cold.
Yes, it was like 70s, 80s, and then like 50s, 60s raining for one day, and then it's just so weird. So we were running some errands. We grabbed Dutch Bros, and I like Dutch Bros. I do.
Mhm.
Um, the Dutch Bros workers can be hit or miss. Sometimes it is terrifying. Like, because if you've been, you know that they just strike up conversation and it's part of like their thing. Sometimes it's very natural and easy and it's like, cool. I'm like, cool, I can just chat with you while I order my coffee. Other times it's painful. This time was painful, guys. So it
No.
was raining. So usually the one that we go to, they'll take your order, when you're back in line a little bit with their
Uh-huh.
iPad and then you go up and just grab your drink and go. But they didn't have anyone out, obviously, because it was pouring rain. So we had to pull up to the window and then place our order and then wait for them to make it. So it just was, you're like stuck there. And this
Mm.
girl, bless her heart, it was like, oh man, I was like, girl, just stop. The like awkward conversation. She was
Uh,
like she commented on my husband's drink order. She's like, oh yeah, like like that's one of my favorites, and like things that I've heard before that weren't awkward, but just the way she was going about it, you could tell it was like, I have to talk to you right now, I can't just
yeah.
not talk to you. And then she was like looking at our car, and my car has a big moonroof, and she was like, oh, that's so cool. And she was definitely younger, so I'm like, part of it was me. I'm like, girl, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, oh, that's such a vibe and that the aesthetic. And I was just like, oh, I don't know how to contribute to this
Oh
conversation.
no.
I'm just sitting there like on my phone. My husband's doing the like, oh yeah, and
Oh
I'm like,
man.
when will this end? And of course he got a blended drink. Like, why did he get a blended drink when it was raining? That's a whole separate situation. So it took a minute, and I'm like, oh, I want to go. So yes, that was my awkward moment.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah,
I love when
best.
they try to talk and you're like, okay.
I love all the videos, like the reels and TikToks and stuff that show them like, the over dramatized where they like climb into your car, like, hey, what's going
Yes.
on? What are you doing today? I'm like,
I was going to say the reels.
that's
I don't go there much, but
internally,
the reels crack me up and they give
internally,
me a
that's how it
sense
feels.
of like what it's like to come up to the drive through. There must be some requirement when they
I really think there
apply to
is.
work. Uh,
I could never make it a day at Dutch Bros. I respect what you do, guys, but never, never, never.
that's so funny.
Oh,
All right. So
yes.
mine, so I was walking Kuro a couple days ago and we were coming back. I think was it Sunday? It was Sunday. I don't know. It was a weekend. So yeah, it had to be because Saturday was the crazy rain.
Rainy.
So I was coming back and our neighbors next door, the husband and wife were out with their kids and they were playing, or practicing baseball or football or something, having a great time. And I remember seeing on Facebook that it was the wife's birthday. And so I was like, oh, I gotta say goodbye, say happy birthday to her. And so as I walk in, I'm like, happy birthday. And, I'm waving to her and I think she said, thank you. And I'm waving to the family and walk in. So proud of myself, like, oh, I remembered her birthday. And then later I was looking on Instagram and I see her Insta story and she's like, happy birthday to my husband. We're birthday buddies. He has the same birthday. So here I go wishing her a happy birthday. And there he is, like, I'm
Oh
gonna wish you a happy
no.
birthday. So
You're
then
like,
I'm
happy
like,
birthday to you, but not you.
yeah. So then I'm backtracking. So on her story, I'm like, oh, I didn't know it was your husband's birthday. I feel so. And then of course I'm just over explaining. They
Yes.
probably didn't think anything of it.
No.
And then I go to his Instagram. I go and message him. I'm like, I realized it was your birthday and I didn't say happy birthday. And both of them are like, it's fine. So I don't know if I made it worse by going on there, but I felt so stupid. Like I was so confident saying happy birthday to her. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh, he's standing right there. It's his birthday too. But I just like,
It's those moments that get you. You're like, I got this, I'm good, and then it just
yeah, you're so
crash and
like, I'm
tumble.
I'm crushing it.
Yeah.
Nope,
Yep. This
not
is what
crushing
happens when
it.
we try.
I know exactly,
Ugh.
exactly. So anyway, I
Oh
was
my
just
gosh.
laughing at that. But they're so sweet, and I
Oh,
don't. I
that's cool.
really think they were like,
Yeah.
"It's fine. You're
Yeah.
you're good."
Yeah.
So anyway,
Oh my gosh. Oh,
oh
that's funny.
man. All right, let's go to our recommendations. So, what do you recommend to us this
Okay.
week?
This is a very weird long story recommendation.
Uh-huh.
So, um, I mean, a little more of a shout out than a recommendation. I just am so impressed and so like floored that I have to share. So on Thursday, my husband and I wake up
Mhm.
and we look in our backyard to see it completely flooded, like
Uh,
completely flooded, 6 to 8 inches of water, like just what is going on? The neighbors directly behind us in the past have like, oops, I left my hose on and it flooded your yard. We've had that happen a few times. So my first thought is like, I was so mad. I was like going off. I'm like, my husband had to go over there on his way to work. It was like a whole thing. And they had been doing work on their sprinklers, I guess, the day before. So we're like, something happened. So I'm like getting ready for work. My husband's at work. He had to come home from work because the poor babysitter is going to have both my dogs and kids stuck inside all day. I'm like, we got to figure something out, at least get the water out. So all that to say, it was a mess. He ended up having to call our county public works department to like come out and assess it.
mm,
They came out, he's like, as soon as they came in the backyard, they were like, oh wow, like this is a
oh,
lot of water.
jeez.
They weren't expecting how bad it was. So I don't know what the process. That was on Thursday. They fixed the issue. We have like, I don't know all the technical stuff. We have a downspout, I think is the word. They cut it down so the water would flow into it. The water went out, blah, blah, blah. They were going to come back on Friday to clean stuff up, but then a different pipe, well, it turns out it was a pipe burst in our backyard.
Mm.
But I feel like I was justified blaming the neighbors because it wasn't the first time. Anyways, um, somewhere else a pipe had burst and they had to like deal with an emergency. So they're like, we're so sorry we couldn't clean stuff up because it was a mess in our backyard. But we're like, it is what it is. So then yesterday, or no, they worked Thursday and Friday. Monday they couldn't come back to clean because of the emergency. So then Tuesday, today, they came by. I was out and about with the kids, but I'd locked everything up. I said, the gate's open, we had a good rapport with them, whatever. I'd come back home by the time he was done. So he knocks on the front door, I pop out, and he's like, yeah, we're all finished back there. I was like, oh, thanks so much. So not only did they fix it, they brought in sand and like covered it. Was an area that we were going to plan on going and buying sand and like doing ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But that was their solution, was to bring in sand. It looks really nice. It was a really crappy part of our yard we hadn't touched. So I was like, oh, thanks. There
Oh,
was a hole in the middle of my yard that my dog had dug up weeks ago. He's like, yeah, we just filled that one too. They
huh.
sprayed off the entire deck. They sprayed off all the concrete, like completely clean up their mess and then some. He's like, oh, I noticed your hose was leaking, so I tightened it for you. And there's fresh water in your bowl for your dog. And I'm like, what? It
Wow.
was
What
just
the?
like the most
That's
above and beyond.
amazing.
I'm like, that was the sweetest. So I'm like, I gotta figure out how to like email their department or manager or something. So I'm like, that
Yeah.
was just so above and beyond and amazing. I just was like tickled pink. I'm like, this is just the coolest thing. So I was very appreciative. They did great work. They were really nice. And like being a woman home alone with your kids and some group of guys comes to work on your house can be so intimidating. So
Mm-hmm.
just the fact that I felt comfortable and then they did all that, it just was such a great experience. So thank you, San Joaquin County Public Works Department people, because it was amazing.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
How kind.
I know.
Aw. Okay, so mine, I feel like I used to read a lot, and these days I read at a snail's pace, but I finally finished this trilogy that I started like the beginning of the year, and I was so proud of myself, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm gonna recommend it. It's called Shadow and Bone, and it's a 3-book series. Now I know there's a couple of like other 2-book series that like go before or after,
Hmm.
but this series, it's by Leigh Bardugo, and it was really good. It's a fantasy series, and I love that genre. It kind of brought me back to like the Twilight and that kind of YA reading. And so yeah, that one was really good. There's a Netflix show, and I wanted to read these before I started the Netflix show. Who knows when I'll start that, but I'm someone who likes to read the books before I watch the show. So anyway, I'm more proud of myself for finishing it, but it was really
Yep.
good. So
Yep.
I
I was gonna
recommend that
say
if you
it
like
sounds
it.
familiar, but I'm sure I didn't hear it via book because I don't read books at all. So it must have been when you said Netflix show. I'm like, oh, maybe that's where I
And
heard of it. So
yes, yes. And I
yeah.
heard from someone that they actually incorporate the next 2 in the series in with it. So I started the next book. It's like a separate series, but I kind of want to read those 2 before. So I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see. Maybe I'll start the
Figure
show
out.
next year. We'll see how long it takes me to read. Maybe this summer I'll get more reading
So
done.
where I was
But
gonna say you'll have more time, but
yeah, it's funny. I
yeah.
go in waves. Like I'll read a lot, and then
Yeah.
I'll sit on my bed and just scroll TikTok for
Mhm.
hours. And I'm like, I
Yep.
could have read,
Yep.
but I think I'll watch these people eat. What is
Oh
it
my
about
God.
people eating? I don't know,
It's
but I'm fascinated.
yeah.
And
Yep.
I don't know, maybe I'm just fixated on food. And
I was
so
gonna say that algorithm is like food, it
it
knows your
knows
thing. So
yeah, it
it
knows
knows.
my,
Gives you what you need.
it does, it does. So
Oh
yeah,
man.
well, this
All
was a
right.
good episode on
Yeah.
friendship.
This
And
was fun.
I'm glad we're friends
Yes,
and
we are.
started
We're
this
not just family,
podcast.
we are
That's
friends.
right.
We are friends.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, this was a good one. And thanks
Yeah.
for those who asked questions, and
Yep.
thanks for those who have rated our show and reviewed. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It makes us more visible.
Yep.
And yeah, and we just love hearing people that who have listened to the show,
Yeah.
and we're glad you're enjoying it. And yeah, feel free to message us anytime. If you have any comments, questions, just
Yep.
anything, we'd love to hear from you. And yeah, anything
Yeah.
else?
I was just gonna say we love the feedback and interaction. It's really fun. And we had like a master list of ideas of what to talk about. And I feel like we're going through them way faster than I thought. So if you have any topics or ideas or suggestions or things you would want to hear us talk about, like we are very open to all
Mhm.
of that. So yeah, let us know. But again, thanks for throwing out those questions and hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Yes, see you next time.